Secret of Mana, developed by Square for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. One of my greatest childhood memories. My first action RPG outside the Zelda franchise, and one of those games I keep coming back to every couple of years. My excuse for this year, the game has some weird AI behavior and interesting trivia to talk about, so I can use this run through the game for a video. Also, it's possible to let the game play itself, or at least almost. Automatic leveling that utilizes the AI-controlled characters in combination with increased game speed in an emulator is very useful for a casual playthrough. Hopefully you can remember how to do this after watching this video. The main protagonist of this game probably would not, as he seems to be experiencing some sort of amnesia. Why else would he say the same thing over and over again? The game starts off with the boy pretending to fall down a small pathway before actually falling down. At least this is my interpretation of this scene. It might also be a weird animation trying to indicate that he is losing balance. But luckily he's not hurt, so he can pick up the magic butter knife and immediately use it to slice up some fresh salad, before encountering his first rabbit. Did you know rabbits can get scared and play dead when you are standing close to them? This only happens after they have been hit at least once, so they actually learn that sword slashes are painful. In the German version of the game, the rabbis are called Pogo-Puschel. Pogo as in pogo stick, and Puschel, well, that translates to pom-pom. Some translations in this game are quite interesting, and I will be coming back to that topic once in a while during this video. After opening a chest sealed with a lock that can easily be lockpicked just by shaking it, the boy enters Poda's village, where a sinkhole reveals an underground cavern. So let's take the red pill and find out how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Put $1 in the pun jar. Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
The Mantis Ant serves as a fighting tutorial. Whenever you die you get resurrected, so there is no danger of losing the first boss fight. But there is a second way to guarantee victory. The boss is programmed to jump whenever its Y coordinate is below the boy's Y position. So just stand here and he will enter an infinite jumping state. When he touches the ground, you can hit him easily enough until he explodes. Using the famous cannon travel, it's easy to reach the water palace. Something that already bothered me as a child in this scene is the trajectory of the human cannonball. What we've just seen in the game was basic projectile physics. An object launched at an initial velocity at a certain angle undergoing constant gravitational acceleration. So what basically happened, what the game showed us, was the boy was shot from a cannon at a specific angle and the trajectory went like this. And when the target was reached, then there's something obviously wrong here, and it's right there. Objects don't stop in mid-air! That's not how physics works! Sorry. Maybe I should do a video on trajectory physics, but not now. The video's already long enough without me nerding on about motion laws for half an hour. Back to the game. Another thing that startled me as a kid is the dialogue and his soldiers. If you just ignore him, well then nothing happens when proceeding to Pandora. But when you talk to them and watch them leave, then our protagonist will be abducted on the way, opening up the possibility of getting the second character of the game earlier by meeting her in the castle. During the abduction scene itself, it's noteworthy that in the English version of the game, the goblins are talking about a dance that already started. In the German version, that dance has been replaced with the name of a TV series that was somewhat famous at the time. For me that made no sense and kinda broke the lore of the game, but oh well. Next on the list is Gaia's Navel. At least when you are alone. The girl will refuse to enter here unless they enter the haunted forest and figured out that they need an axe. No matter what, at some point there is a fight against Tropicalo. Having the girl in this fight can be helpful, but it can also be a curse when she limits your movement. After the boss is dead, the Sprite will join the group. Interesting trivia about the character: in the Japanese version the Sprite is genderless, in the English version he is a male, and in the German version she is female. Kudos for introducing transgender characters in 1993! Well, now that the party is complete and, more importantly, has access to ranged weapons, I can finally start with what I like most: becoming completely overpowered. But over the years I got somewhat lazy when it comes to leveling, so I prefer to automate the process as much as possible. Using an emulator's fast forward function and a suitable setup, it is possible to have your companions do all the monster killing for you, while you just hold down a button and pay attention to something else. This is not really a great place to do this, and I will show you much better opportunities in the game to benefit from this concept. But this is the first time you will encounter self-replicating enemies, which are very helpful for this auto-leveling approach. I only used this to bring up the Sprite's HP, as it was far behind everyone else. You will learn to hate chests at this point, because each chest on the screen reduces the maximum number of enemies, which is usually 3, by 1. The next good leveling spot is Eline's castle. This requires more button presses and attention, but it is also much more rewarding. And doing some leveling here is probably a good idea. The werewolf can drop kung fu dresses and cups of wishes. Also, any additional level at this point is very welcome. Why? Well, the next boss, in my opinion, is the hardest boss in the game. He is called Spiky Tiger and has a variety of mean attacks. Unless one wants to use major glitches, I don't have any good advice for the boss. By the way, major game-breaking glitches in this game are also very interesting and could be a topic for another video, so tell me in the comments if you're interested in that. Luckily, the remaining bosses will be a lot easier, because at this point in the game the group will finally get access to magic. Case in point. The fire Geiges can easily be killed with chain casting freeze. And chain casting is very simple to do. The caster has to be AI controlled, then access her menu with the X button, cast the spell and practice the timing for the next cast. The timing depends on the exact spell, and some work better than others. Wait, fire Geiges? Let's back up a bit. Apparently Gyges is one of the mana sword's names. Okay, sure. Why not? So we just killed the fire mana sword. After the fight, Gnome joins the party, and he is an interesting spirit regarding translation differences. First of all, in the German version he is called Rocky. In fact, all the mana spirits receive different names, each of which is somehow related to the force they represent. Secondly, he is rhyming everything he says, and thirdly, the translation team made him into kind of a misogynistic womanizer, as they had to come up with new dialogue paying respect to the fact that the sprite is female. Onwards we go. Using Gnome's newly acquired gem missile, the sprite quickly makes a wall face explode. Luckily for everyone, that's not a load-bearing wall, so the Mana Knight makes it out alive and gets his chance to shake a bunch of chests. After a bit of practice, Gnome got more powerful and his spells magically turned the oh so dangerous Kilroy into a pile of spare parts. With the Mana Seed of Water in their backpack, the group returns to the Water Palace. And they do not pay attention to the fact that a bunch of monsters appeared there in the meantime and gladly run into the Empire's trap. But once again, Gnome to the rescue! Anyone noticing a pattern with these bosses? Yeah, leveled spells just destroy them. Although this time the Mana Knight gets to use his sword for the final blow, because walnuts are nutritionally valuable and therefore very expensive. Don't forget to collect the Mitch mallet in Gaia's navel after defeating Jabberwocky. I forgot to do that so many times it's not even funny anymore. Then the heroes fly away to the Upland, leading to Matango. I tried auto-leveling in this area on the summoned mole bear enemies, but that turned out to be neither safe nor sufficiently rewarding. I could not find a suitable place for this concept anywhere in this part of the game. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Between the Earth Palace and the Fire Palace, this was pretty much a normal playthrough. However, I chose to level up some spells here. Whenever I level the mana spirits, the girl is constantly casting spells such as Remedy on herself. Not only does that level her spirits, it also keeps her both busy and invincible. The main reason for this was leveling Sylphid, or Electra in German, as I have really bad memories from my childhood about the next boss, the Great Viper. But Sylphid at level 3 once again trivializes the fight. After Matango, I usually go to the Ice World and get Salamando, whose German name is Vesuvio, proceed to the Ice Palace and just watch while the AI characters exercise a bit. You need 2 controllers to set this behavior up. First, position the boy as far down the stairs as possible. Then activate the second controller and move another character into one of those notches. Then you can deactivate the second controller again and the AI will do the rest. Strengthened like this, it's time to retrieve the mana seed from Santa Claus. This is another instance in the game where I always started thinking, Santa Claus in a fantasy world setting? I don't know, could have lived without it. What do you think? Does it fit into the lore, or do you also feel like it is somewhat out of place? Next up is Kakara Desert, which will quickly lead to the fight against the first Mech Rider. This enemy is a lot of fun. He is programmed to align his Y coordinate with one of the characters, so his charge attack can land a hit. But when he can't do that, then he gets very sad and either drives away in frustration or covers up his hurt feelings with a fun dance. The next dungeon, the Fire Palace, is the best place for auto-leveling I found in this part of the game. In this scene, the monsters can't reach the group, and this is literally automatic. There are no button presses necessary at all, unless the situation requires a slight adjustment, which happens once in a while. And of course you will have to leave and re-enter the screen after 2 chest spawns. All the times I played Secret of Mana over the years, I really hated these blob enemies, especially the blue and red ones because of their snowman and burning status effects. However, since I discovered this screen, I learned to love them. After the problems with ice and fire are solved, the next contrast on the list is South and North. In South Town you can just run past the rebel guard by aligning the character with the wall. This way they won't touch the event trigger, causing the guard to run back and block the entrance. There is a downside to this though, but more on that later. North Town ends with the second version of the Mech Rider, which suffers from the same AI problems as the first one. Therefore the boss fight is a good opportunity for a coffee break. But I'm not patient enough to enjoy this for long. Whenever I play Secret of Mana, this fight is my most anticipated moment of the game, because afterwards the world really opens up. Calling Flemmy is always a great feeling, although the animation is a bit long when doing this repeatedly. By the way, Flemmy's German name is Lufty, which translates to airy, because he is flying through air, I guess. I always fly to the Palace of Darkness first. The enemies there are really great for leveling, and this spot is amazing for having the AI do it automatically. Here's the result I got HP wise after about 20 minutes of doing this. It should be possible to do this faster with even higher emulation speed, but then you can't really see what's happening anymore. Next on the list is the Palace of Light. Usually you talk to this guy in Gold Town, learn about the stolen key, go to South Town and get it from Gemma's wife Mara. But there is a problem. Mara is still stuck in her previous AI state because the group did not talk to the rebel guard and tell him the secret code from Mara. Luckily, this problem is fixable. Talk to the guard and enter the code. But this does not suffice yet. Now you have to talk to the guy in Gold Town, even though that already happened before, and then Mara will finally give you the key to the Palace of Light. Inside the palace you will encounter a great example of really good game design. The blue spike boss tricks the player into thinking the fight is over with a fake explosion scene. But there is a hint that it's not actually the end of the boss fight. During the explosion his head is missing. I really like the fake explosion idea and the fact that they didn't just use normal animation for that. Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. The entire Sage thing is somewhat controversial from a game design point of view, and I don't really feel like touching that subject. The boss in the tree palace just stands around motionless, casting spells when the group is positioned precisely. But it's not like he does a lot of movement anyways. He is called Egagropilon. But I prefer the description from the unofficial wiki, describing him as a watermelon on legs. The German name translates back to plasma biter, which is at least easier to pronounce. Below the tree palace I got stuck in this screen. The water is dragging the boy and the girl down, while the sprite is stuck on the other side of the wall due to the limited distance that is allowed between any two characters. There is no way to get out of this situation except for the magical rope. If one forgot to pick this up back in Gaia's navel, then this was a soft lock. Note that the rope appears in front of the boy even though I was controlling the sprite and used it with him. Her. Another noteworthy encounter is the Keto King boss, mostly because it got censored by Nintendo. Here is what the boss originally looked like. Although his appearance in the game has been changed, the apparently too brutal chainsaw image made it into the official strategy guide. And that mistake was not even fixed for the PAL region release of the game an entire year later. Back in the palace, the Snapdragon demonstrates that he's also somewhat mentally challenged. This is especially funny as Snapdragon is also the codename for a very slow, low-power CPU family used in mobile devices. Anyways, in this position the boss does not move at all and just stands there waiting to be killed once his MP run out and he can't cast Cure Water anymore. Objectively, the path up to the mana tree is just a big boss rush and I don't have much to talk about. However, in a casual playthrough it can be somewhat challenging as the normal enemies are pretty strong. I remember that this area gave me a lot of trouble back in the day when I first got here. I also remember staring at the images of the elemental dragons in the strategy guide, thinking how cool they look. That still holds true to this day. I really like the visual appearance of these bosses. While the other bosses in this area are rehashes of enemies from earlier in the game, the three dragons are unique. As far as I understand the story, these dragons are supposed to be guardians of the mana tree. A mysterious voice is telling the group that they have to go kill the next dragon before they can proceed. But why? I assume the voice is the mana tree speaking, and the tree already knows that the main protagonist is her son. So why have him fight these dragons? I still can't really wrap my head around that. Well, whatever. The final dungeon of the game, the Mana Fortress, is also challenging and probably not meant to be beaten straight away in a single attempt. In case you did not know, you can find the final weapon orbs here in randomly appearing chests. A noteworthy enemy is the second incantation of the vampire boss named Buffy. What a cool name for a vampire, considering the existence of the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The movie actually precedes the release of the game by about a year. I doubt that this is a funny coincidence and count this as a reference made by Ted Woolsey, who did the English translation of the game. Buffy is nice, but my personal trophy for the coolest enemy in the game goes to the Dark Lich and his famous headbanging animation. Positioning the player character exactly in the center of his head while it is peeking out causes the Lich to adjust his Y position to the character forever. The music in this fight is one of my favorite gaming tunes and the first game music I ever downloaded back when the internet was a new thing. Just listen to this for a second. After showing so many boss fights in this video, of course the mana beast itself deserves an appearance as well. If you are not prepared and neither level up Dryad nor the boy's sword skill a lot, then the fight can be very tricky, because you will experience problems in dealing noteworthy amounts of damage to this final boss. There's an easy solution for this problem and it is called Lunatic. More specifically, it's Moon Energy spell. In combination with the revived mana sword, that spell makes fighting the beast almost trivial. And that's it for Secret of Mana, at least for now. Maybe I will come back to this amazing game at some point in the future to cover some of the major game-breaking glitches that I completely ignored during this video. It is astonishing how one can destroy the game with bug exploits. If you liked the video and you want to see more content like this, please consider supporting the channel by executing this algorithm. You will find all the necessary links down below in the description. Thanks for watching, have a nice day!